Good morning.
Well, good morning, kiddo.
Morning.
So I heard you talk to Felicia just trying to get a feel for why we went one direction and the others went another.
Um, yes, but that's not necessarily my reasoning. I'm wondering if Keller Williams is the right fit for me right now. And because I saw the coaches made changes, I'm guessing they put a lot of thought into it. And I was just curious if they would recommend EXP or Real as I'm kind of, exploring if I want to make a move or not.
Okay. So, and we can get into, hi, Margie, good morning. We'll get into more detailed stuff. You've heard me say some of my things again and again and again. I'm going to come at it with a different angle this morning, but for the sake of example, here's what I tell everybody. There is no greener grass. I think it's
Right.
all astroturf. Yeah, it's all astroturf. It's all fake. It's just, you don't actually know until you get there, right? So anybody can sell you on what it is or what it isn't. I'll share with you my personal story as to where I came from and where I'm at now. The long and short, everything about what I do is coaching and reciprocity. So I've hung my license, my real estate license, with probably 8 different brokerages. Every one of them deceived me, meaning if I come and contribute to the growth of your organization, like you've seen me do, will you reciprocate and contribute to the growth of mine? Everybody says yes, and so far nobody's honored their word. And I've been with EXP a couple of different times, a couple of different people, a couple of different. They want me to come, help me coach, help me do all this is fantastic. And then months later, I'm like, but you're not honoring your word. And then all of a sudden, when I leave, they're calling. Why did you go? Why did you go? I said, I didn't go. You quit. You quit on us. I didn't do that. Yes, you did. You didn't honor your word. Long and short, right? So my angle is different than yours, Sin. So I don't say one is better than another. I went for specific reasons. I don't write real estate transactions, I refer them out. So I think I'm over 3 million this year, but I've referred them all out. I'm not actually doing the work in the
Mhm.
trenches. I may get to a point where I do that. I don't know, but right now I'm not. The plan in coming back to EXP, and I've been there before, wasn't EXP per se. It was the people that agreed to contribute and honor their word. And so far
Mhm.
they have, meaning they have put Felicia and I on EXPCon. They allowed us to speak at EXPCon. There were over 350 some odd people that applied for that. They allowed us to speak there. They also introduced me to other groups to help them grow so that I can make money with mortgages and such. So the reason that I went might not be the reason that you would go. You must speak with Felicia in great detail about those intricacies, but so far they're honoring their word. And think about
Mhm.
this. They meet me, they see me do a couple coaching things, and they're like, holy crap, you'd be great for this. I'm like, that's where I want to go. Great. I mean, wow. The other institutions would say things, they just wouldn't do them. So I went down the path that I believe this time around they were going to honor their word. And so far, they've not only honored it, they've exceeded it. You might want to know more of the intricate details. That would be Felicia, not me. All right. Okay. Gang, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Margie-Ann, good morning. I haven't seen you in a while. All right. So here's what I want to do. I want to, and if you're coming back, you may have heard some of these things before, but I always start by saying, as a reminder, you will see me for the first time after you've heard me for the seventh. It has nothing to do with me. It's how our brain works. You will see me for the first time after you've heard me for the seventh, which means, long and short, we've got to hear things again and again and again before they stick. So there are people that come to my calls and go, you've said that before. You have anything new? I'm like, why would I introduce something new if you haven't applied what you've already learned? And then I always want to defer to this and remind everybody that it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree, which means I'm either an idiot or the teachers were teaching, I wasn't learning because I wasn't in the right place to receive the message. Long and short, I say all of that to then introduce again some of the things I'm going to share with you today that blew my mind and should blow yours. But if you're not in the position to receive it at this moment, it will not. Listen to it again and again. Here's what I say to some people. You mean to tell me I mean to come back 7 weeks in a row to listen to this? No. Listen to this recording 7 times in a row. Speed it up. Speed it up. What are you thinking? But that's our brain saying, okay, well, next week I'll get it. I'll get it maybe the 3rd week. No. Sit down. Like, I'll give you this example. Watch this. I teach the components of confidence. I made it up because what I learned in the course of 27 years coaching people, most people lack confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, pride in what it is that they're delivering, and many for just reason. So I said, I need to start teaching people how to have confidence. And one of the components, I believe, is simply repetition. Watch. You don't have to say this with me, but I dare you to say it with me. And you're on mute. Nobody's going to hear you, so it doesn't matter. 67% of the population doesn't have a will. 67% of the population doesn't have a will. 67% of the population doesn't have a will. Wait, we're getting there. 67%, I'm not being sarcastic, doesn't have a will. 67% of the population doesn't have a will. 67% of the population doesn't have a will. Wait, are you telling me 67% of the population doesn't have a will? Right. If I bumped into you later today, you will get that answer correct. Wow, I'm so smart. No, I'm just repetitive. That's the only difference, gang. So to me, I look at it this way. I got 2 options. I look at it like if it makes sense and makes money, I move. If it makes sense and it makes money, I move on it. That's my barometer. It is that simple. Now, what holds us back sometimes from not moving forward on those 2 things? That would be your multiple personality disorder. You know, the person in your ear that says you're not good enough. You're tired today. You didn't get a good night's sleep. I can't do what Paulie can do. He's so much more talented and he has such nice hair. So there are things that we're saying to ourselves. I slid that in, Laura. These are the jokes. So there are some things we're saying to ourselves that are stopping us from making a move on something that is common sense. So if it makes sense and makes money, I move on it. The question is, do you? So here's an example. And this just happened last week. It's still on the board. I left it here since Friday. I wanted to show it to you. We're only going to look at this section here. This is a senior citizen who wants to move into a community, has to wait until they sell their home. No, they don't. No, they don't. This is a bridge loan. Now, I was just on the phone. Cindy will attest to this. She doesn't know who I was talking to, but I was just on the phone with an account rep. Account reps are always trying to get me to give them business. And they have all pretty much the same products. Every now and then you find something really cool. I'm like, that one I like. I'll use you for that. Great. This, nobody's got this. I want to share it with you and I want to go slow. Not disrespectfully, because I want you really to grasp this. The senior citizen's home is worth $400. He wants to buy a home in a community for 600. Doesn't want to place a contingent offer. If I lose any of you at any point in time, Paulie, stop. There's only 4 of us. Tell me what the hell you just talked about. He does not need to go contingent. Here's the math on how you can use the bridge loan that I've got. 400,000 is the house he's selling. 600,000 is the house he's buying. Add it together. It's $1 million. Multiply that number by 70%. That's how much cash he has. We're going to give you 700 grand to go buy that $600,000 home in cash. Non-contingent, no payments for 2 months. No credit, no income, which means everybody's approved. I'm not being sarcastic. Is the math easy? Plug in the value of the home you're selling, plug in the value of the home you're buying, add them together. Multiply that by 70%. That's what your borrower has access to. You now can go buy the $600,000 home as a cash buyer.
How
You're
much
not
does
have
it cost them?
700. You only need the 6. I'm sorry, Sid.
So how much is it going to cost them?
The monthly payment is 10.95, which is interest only for 12 months. 2 months payment deferred. And the cost of the loan, generally speaking, 3 points. Generally speaking, typically a little lower, but I'm being very conservative and saying 3 points. So if they were taking the full 700, but they don't need it, they only need the 6. So it'll be 18 grand in cost. 10.95 interest only, 12 months with extensions in case they don't sell their home in time, 2 month deferment. The point I'm making here, gang, is no credit, no income. Every bridge loan that I know has to make sure you can afford the payment. Ours doesn't care.
Paul, another question. Are they required to do the 12 months or it's just up to 12 months when they sell their house?
If you sell this home in 30 days, you'll pay this off before your first payment's due.
Okay.
No prepayment penalty. Pay at any time.
Okay.
Now, my question to you would be, if you haven't had something like this, but you know what it means to have somebody that thinks they need to sell before they can buy, you now could get more sellers to go with you because you're using a mortgage product that nobody else knows about or even has. This particular lender, the owner of this company and a hedge fund on Wall Street get together and they make mortgage babies and they come up with stuff that nobody else has. And when it performs, they keep running with it. If it doesn't perform, all right, shut that down. We're getting killed, right? But they've been running with this for a year. This thing's killing it. And think about this. Once your seller moves into this house, you know what they're going to want to do with this house? Sell it faster, reduce the price, get rid of this thing. Everybody wins. There's no downside here. So now my point to you is you've now learned something for the sake of being respectful and kind with a slight hint of sarcasm. If it makes sense and makes you money, you do something with it. So what would you do with this? Well, if I were you, as I have, I would be telling my accountants and my financial advisors, and I might even go to social media. I don't go to social, you do. I'm not saying it's right. I need to. But I might go to social media and say, I have the most unique bridge loan for all of my sellers to help you sell without having to qualify or go contingent. Call me now. Whatever. My accountants and my financial advisors are the ones sending some of the clients for this. On top of the agent that's now trying to get this seller to move forward with a program that helps them sell the house and be the buyer's agent. Everybody benefits from this. If you see a downside, please tell me and let's talk it out amongst ourselves. I told you the payment, the cost, the timeline. What's the downside? If you can find one.
Well, I have clients right now that this would probably be a good fit for. A couple months ago, they wanted to do a purchase contingent. I talked to them about bridge loans and they kept pushing back on these 2 points. One, what if I never sell my house? I, tried to convince them, yes, your house will sell. Well, they want to sell for, I'm making up numbers, 350. What if I can't sell it in, what if it's only 300? Then all of a sudden I spent too much money on that other house. So they're reluctant to jump until they know exactly how much they're going to get for their house. And then the other thing is, well, I don't want to pay 10.95%, because the rates right now are at 6. So that's the pushback I'm getting on a traditional bridge loan, which would be similar.
Okay. So the first one, here's my thought without any prep work, just coming off the top of my head.
Mhm.
I personally, you tell me what your thoughts are, because I don't know you. This is client. I'm not interacting. So I'm making this up to help a little bit. I
Yeah.
would rather deal with the repercussions of my actions than the feelings of regret. The woulda, coulda, shoulda are for people in the grave, in the cemetery. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. They'll tell
Mhm.
you, and working with seniors, they what? They can tell you about every regretful thing they didn't do, should have capitalized, etc. Where do you learn all that? You more than anybody, working and talking to seniors. Many of them live in the boat of regret. They're
Mhm.
wading in that water. So learning from my seniors, I'm sharing this with my buyer seller, learning from my seniors, meaning you have exposure that they don't. Learning from my seniors, the what if, the coulda, shoulda, I wish I did, etc., led them to a point now where they've got angst inside their body. They can't get rid of it, because if they can get that 20 years ago, they would have done what they should have done, and they didn't. So what I've learned from them is what I'm sharing with you. I'd rather deal with the repercussions of my actions than the feelings of regret, because that is torment. What are your thoughts, buyer or seller? You see, I'm just planting something that I've learned from seniors. I don't want to be that. I'd rather say I put everything on the table and man, I gave it a shot, but I didn't get it. Can you imagine? So that's my first thought with your first pushback. The second one, as far as interest rates are concerned, I don't want to pay 10.95. Well, relatively speaking, it's interest only and it's deferred for 2 months. So let's make sure that we understand that. Let's do the math.
Mhm.
And it's not anything on what you're buying. Here's what you don't have: the house you want. What you do have is the house you don't want. Help me understand the logic. You're hanging on to a house you don't want and can't get the house you do want. Help me come to grips with that. Help me just make sense of that. In other words, gang, and this is what I get when I do coaching. Many people would like to stay in the area that they're familiar with, even if they're not doing well, because I know not doing well. I don't know what you're talking about, Paulie, because that's like unknown. New is unknown, and that causes fear. I don't know. So what did I do on the first example? I took the experiences we all have working with seniors that I've heard nothing but regret and stories of I wish I did, I could have, I should. That's all I've ever heard. And I'm taking that to bring it to you. I'm doing the same thing now. I'm taking my experience to you. So we should be hiring a coach or a mentor to learn from their mistakes so that we don't make them. Your buyer's saying the same thing to you. Help me navigate these waters, Cindy. Help me traverse this terrain. I've never done this before. I do this all the time. Here's what all my seniors say on the other side of the fence. What are your thoughts when I say that to you? And then we can look back on something they regretted and they'll feel that again. This is chestnut checkers, gang. Feel, feel, feel. It's not always about the math or the numbers. If it was, we'd have nothing but McDonald's and Walmarts. I guarantee you, none of you got your wedding ring from Walmart. Why? It's cheaper, more practical. Why didn't you do that? Because when there's something of great value, we want something more, but we act like we don't. That's incorrect. It's incorrect. So those would be my thoughts in communicating with someone like that, to take experiences they haven't had yet from seniors they're about to become and bring that. That's why they're hiring you. Guy, you are their travel guide. Think about what a travel agent is supposed to do. Take you to places nobody else knows about. Take you to the secret cave. Show something to me that nobody else knows. My God, I'm the travel agent. Nobody knows this. We can just go online, book a flight,
Yeah.
book a hotel. No, you go to a travel agent because you want to know everything. You want to know the detail. That's where we become to me, Indispensable. Cindy, you started to say, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I may be getting into the weeds way too much. So if they sell immediately and don't end up even having to make that interest payment, how do they make their money or how does the lender
The
make their
bank,
money? Yeah. Yeah.
that's what they're thinking. Because if you think about it, most homes sell in a certain period of time if they're in a
Right.
certain decent condition, et cetera. So how am I
Right.
actually going to make any money? Well, they're charging the 2.5 to 3 points up front.
Okay.
That's actually how they're making their money. They don't
Okay.
anticipate you staying in this. And the data shows you'll be out of this loan mostly before the first payment.
Right.
And again, Sin, what you're not experiencing, but I have, think about this. Here's what I notice. And you guys can put your hat on for a second. You're the buyer. You're in your new home. You are decorating. You are having family over. You're preparing this weekend to have a game night. You're in that home. You know what the other home becomes? A thorn. A thorn. Sell it, Cindy. Get rid of that thing. We've moved on. So it helps you sell the home faster. So we're experiencing that some of these loans, they're not even getting to the first payment. That's why
Mhm.
they got to make their money on the points because they're not getting to the payment.
Right. Right. So they're paying, in the case of my price point, somewhere between eight and $12,000 in points. And
I don't
that's
know what your
what
price point is, but okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's where, so for example, this couple I'm thinking of, their life savings is literally $40,000. That's all they have. And they have their house, which we're hoping is going to sell for 350. So for them, $10,000 for the perceived convenience is a big chunk for them to bite off.
Yes.
That's scary for
And
them to,
and I can appreciate that. You're talking about somebody literally taking a calculator out. We're living
right.
check, literally check. Yeah, I understand that. So then
Yeah.
I would say, aside from the enthusiastic presentation of what we're about to experience, we can then pull out the calculator and let's do the math. And I would say, let's do the math on your existing position
Hmm.
and this position, and then make a comparison.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely
Right.
nothing wrong with that. But my point to all of you is you now have something that says, wait, I got an option. I got an option. This is why I tell everybody, and this is a mistake that I believe most people make in their presentation when they say, this is not for everyone. And they just stop with that sentence. Be careful with your words. Even though this may not be for everyone, wouldn't you agree that everyone needs to know it exists? You see the angle? We tend to stop because what we're doing is unknowingly, we're protecting ourselves. We're protecting our ego, our pride. And when somebody says no, we don't like to hear that. So we're protecting ourselves. This might not be for everyone. This might not be for you. Some people say they're using that as a sales angle to disqualify to get you to want to hire me. Yes and no, depending on your delivery and the client. My point to you is this. The way that I'm saying it is in this scenario, when I've presented it, everyone needs to know about this. Everyone. It's an option you didn't even know existed. Now let's look at the numbers to see if it is for you. There's a way to present that. But we as presenters, performers, tend to put that barrier up. That really is just to protect ourselves. Here's why I say that. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We've all heard that, yes? Does anybody want to volunteer and tell me what you think that means? Oh, damn. See, nobody wants
You
to ever volunteer. I'm like,
you can I always
come
volunteer,
on,
Paul.
Sid, you always
You can provide a solution for someone, but you can't force them to actually utilize it.
Okay. So here's my thought. It doesn't mean I'm right. It means I'm a perspective coach. So I see things differently, and my perspective serves me. So I'm always in a very good place mentally. Here's what it means. That statement is a defense mechanism to protect us from somebody we've presented to that's not making the obvious decision. You can lead a horse to the woods. That's why they didn't pick dad, mom, cousin, boss, sales manager. They didn't. I did everything. Watch. Listen. If I fed that horse salty popcorn for an hour, do you think it would want to drink? My point to all of you is this. You might be using the wrong feed. It is in how you prepare your client that they will or will not make that decision. I'm not convincing anyone. I'm compelling. There's a difference. I'm not a con man. So I'm not convincing, I'm compelling by delivering the information with influence that excites you and compels you to want to move forward. There's a difference. My point to all of you is if you're not rehearsing with your mentor, your coach in methods like this, that might be one of the reasons you're falling short on your production, because your production is a byproduct of your performance. And the better the performance, the bigger the audience. They're called the Oscars. We give awards to those people. These are acting classes, not real estate school. So think about that statement. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That is your defense mechanism. That is our defense mechanism for the reason that that person didn't do anything. Can't be me. It must be them. What? Really? Is it possible you were using the wrong feed, the wrong food? So now think about that. What they gave you was feedback. They didn't say no. They said, you didn't compel me to move forward, Paulie. Try again. And what do we say? I did everything. They're stupid. They just don't get it. No, you just don't get it. They're giving you the feedback. You just didn't want to hear it because it is an attack on your ability to perform and your ego. And we protect that. We don't want that exposed. That's the thought process, ladies. So think about this when you're moving into today, and I say it respectfully and kindly, that if you're not bouncing your stuff off someone that's giving you guidance, then how do you know if it could have been delivered better? There's a reason professional athletes, professional singers, professional actors and actresses all have coaches, many of them, especially singers. If professional singers at the highest level still have vocal coaches, shouldn't professional communicators have communication coaches? If it's common sense and makes money, you act on it. If you don't act on it, that might mean you don't possess common sense. And we end on a sarcastic high note. I'm having a ball this morning, ladies. Do you have any thoughts or questions for me at all? Margie-Ann, I know we talked a while ago. I haven't seen you for a little bit, and then you reappeared. What happened?
What happens is I'm listing and selling real estate. I've been,
You don't have time for
yeah.
me, right?
Well, I haven't had time for a lot of anything. Yesterday was my
God
first
bless.
day off and I spent it with my girlfriend. So I'm
That's
ready to go
wonderful.
again.
Yeah, congratulations. Margie, you still have my number from before, or did you delete that?
I know you're on my speed dial. You're on my favorites list, Polly. Are you kidding?
Listen, if any of this kind of stuff made sense and looks like it could make you money, shoot me a text. Let's chat for a little bit. Let's see how we can work together. Is that fair? Ladies, thank you for attending. Again, you all have my number. Give me a shout. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day today.